On today's episode, we are joined by Alec Papesch. Alec is the Director of Strategic Partnerships at NCS Credit, the industry's only B2B full-service provider of notice and mechanics lien, UCC filing, and commercial collection services. Alec consults credit associations and industry trade groups nationwide, providing expert guidance on the complexities of construction credit and the Uniform Commercial Code. Alec specializes in demonstrating the advantages of secure transactions and leveraging technology to improve operational efficiency and strengthen financial reporting capabilities. Join us for a great conversation on the Credit Line. Alrighty, well, welcome again, Alec Papesch, to the Credit Line podcast. And I know it wasn't too long ago since we did a previous one, but always good to have you on again. There's always something to talk about, something to get into, but again, just give us a brief understanding of who you are, what you do, what you hope to do, things like that.
Yeah, well, first, John, thanks for having me again. I was going to throw in a shameless plug later on to view our other or listen to our other Credit Line podcast, but glad you already mentioned it, but happy to be back. So just to start off, NCS. So NCS Credit was founded in 1970 by my grandfather and is currently being run by my mother, Mary, and I'm the third generation at NCS. We are proudly the industry's only B2B full service provider of notice, lien, waiver, UCC, and commercial collection services. For the longest time, NCS, we've been around again for 55 years. We've been viewed as an extension of the credit department. But today, we're also seen as an extension of the technology department now, with just the ever changing of the credit world, especially in construction. So much of today of what we do with our customers is enhancing the existing infrastructure they have with kind of layering technology over it. And with that is kind of where my new role became about. I started at NCS as an account manager for the Northeast Territory, and I still have one foot in that realm, but I'll be eventually moving over, or I've already have my one foot in the partnership path. So right now I'm the Director of Strategic Partnership, which is a fancy way of saying that I'm kind of sales, kind of finance, which is my background before NCS, and then partnerships. So both on an education standpoint, doing things like this, but then also finding partners in the industry, whether it's construction services or B2B services for UCCs, to make sure that we're intertwined or linked with other technology partners. So being able to offer a joint solution to larger companies that are looking for a lot, to say the least, maybe accounting functions, credit functions, security functions, and you really need separate companies to do that type of thing. So we kind of bring it all together. So I consult credit associations and trade groups nationwide and provide guidance on the complexities of construction credit and the UCCs, all kind of with the undertone of technology optimization and just making sure that we're improving the efficiency internally as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, well, you do a lot. That's probably an understatement. But mentioning like technology and how it's impacting everything we do. We mentioned a little bit before in the last episode, and I know it's kind of where we want to focus our time is the technology and automation and things like that. So how can companies begin to leverage the technology in their everyday processes?
It's a great question, and there's a lot of components to that. Nearing the end of 2025, the largest topic this year, I mean, it's not even close, is AI. And there's lots of different variations of that, right? We've heard full automation and ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini, a lot of the names that we always hear. And companies are nervous about implementing these types of things, rightfully so, right? I mean, there's customer information, there's data, there's a lot of privacy type of things. If individual people are your customer, then you may have social security numbers and credit data. So, you just need to kind of be careful. So the biggest leverage that I've seen coming in is just the upfront diligence, confirming that someone is legitimate, confirming that a business is legitimate, a lot of anti-fraud type of things. So as we've kind of seen this whole year pan out and are seeing where technology is today and where it could go, I've developed alongside a lot of my colleagues at NCS what we see are our 4 steps to automation.
Now, with the 4 steps of automation, which we'll get into, But yes, like there's this huge, I mean, even me as an individual, like I thought I never use AI, especially as a creative or just like in my education and things like that. And it's the more I've said that, the less it's been true. And I hate to acknowledge that. But it is a great tool. But it's just still like I feel like I'm being morally wrong in doing so. And I wonder if most people are kind of in the same boat. Like there's this ethical aspect on an individual level, but then now let alone like on a business level. And we'll kind of touch again on those different topics in a bit, but I want to talk about those four steps and if you can go over that.
Yeah, so the four steps to automation. So before we even get to that, there's, I guess, a fifth step or a pre-step, which is what happens if you have no process. So
Mm,
automation comes in many different forms, and for anybody listening, automation, it's a misconception that that means autonomous or you have no intervention in the process whatsoever. I know the common term today that's being used is human in the loop. So it's like you're just using technology to make yourself more efficient. You're not letting it do everything for you. So there's no
yeah.
job replacement in that sense, which is a completely different conversation. But if you don't have a process, it's not too late. You didn't miss the boat. There are many, many, many small, simple tools that you can start using today, and no company starts from what you'll see is the first step of automation to number four in like a week. It happens over years. A lot of these companies, which I'm sure we all read about, are also huge. They're Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies that have millions of dollars of budget to basically risk, and if it works, they're an industry leader, and if not, we'll move on to the next.
Yeah.
But most companies, especially probably listeners of this, don't have that luxury. Budgets are very tight. Your dollars need to be well spent. So it's okay not to be a first mover, but we're at the point now where the technology has been around long enough that you can kind of say, okay, here are the things that I want to do. This seems like something that I want to get into my company. But the number one thing before you even get started is you just need to have an open mind. Whether that's actually implementing
Yeah.
something or not, you got to know what's out there. Because if you don't know what's out there, then no point of even moving forward with anything. You'll be kind of shooting
Right.
in the dark.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit informed. Like with any business decision, I wouldn't. I mean, some people believe in think like taking a risk means that you didn't know too much about it, and therefore you take the risk because otherwise the opportunity misses you. But I would always advocate for those who don't know like any of the AI or even the misconception of AI and machine learning. Like, what's the difference? What does that mean? Because they are different, and we don't even have a true AI. It's just a machine learning, and it's very convincing. But yeah, like you said, automation doesn't mean that this autonomy or this like taking away jobs, basically trying to get rid of the human. But like you said, that's for another conversation. And all the time I've talked to people, even at our conferences or in the different educational sessions that we have there, or on like our page, it's AI wanting to replace AI, thinks it can do a better job than me, and it's like the new kid at school who is better at basketball than the kid who's been there forever. And it's like, well, it's good at a lot of things. And so people are always asking the question, which I know you'll address in just a second, is how does it actually bring value to my business, to my employees, to the processes, to maybe even the reputation of the business, and how to tangibly, apply that to all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what these four steps create. So I'll list the steps and then I'll kind of go into each one. So the first step is to digitize your job information collection. So NCS, we have a tool called the Job Info app that does that. The second step is your import file, which is simply just an export of your project management in a Excel file and then upload it to another system. The third step is API, a term which I'm sure we've all heard today. It's just simply system to system communication. And then the fourth is NCS's leading technology, which is called AR management, which is a marrying of project information and accounts receivable information. You put those together, and we'll kind of circle back to that. But starting at step one, digitizing your job information is critical. It's a critical component in today's day and age for a couple of reasons. So one, having job information internally in a digital format sets you up for so much success, because if you're looking at automation tools, the first thing that any company is going to have you evaluate is, do you have the information available? And so even if you're collecting job information but it's not digital, you can't optimize that. You can't sort it. You can't run reports on it. You can't have AI replicate anything that you're doing in terms of double check these addresses. Okay, well, we need to make sure that the addresses are filled in the correct fields. So and there's many companies outside of NCS that only do this specific function. So there's tons of companies that we are actually partnered with, some of them that will take this off our hands, confirm a lot of these things, and then shoot the information over to NCS through the previous steps that you've heard. But the Job Info app, or digitizing your collection of information, is by far the most important step, and also the easiest. It's very easy to start this process. In fact, so many companies are doing it that no longer is it a little taboo to kind of share these project information sheets. Now it's actually pretty normal to allow people to kind of get under the hood about what types of projects you have and share that information between a trusted partner.
Right, because it's all the data that you need. I mean, you can't do any of the stuff you're talking about without having a database or just something to work with. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to do it. Especially with paper and pencil.
And the one thing that I just constantly hear from anyone, again, this year I've been to many conferences, is you have to have a strategized workflow of what you're doing online, so that if you want to have technology, and we're talking about true automation at this point, about completely eliminating tasks, the AI needs to be able to read what does the human actually do. And so if you don't even have that categorized somewhere in your system, then you can't even you got to start at step one. And so again, step one is collecting the job information digitally, and that will set you up to not only go on to step 2, 3, and 4 with where NCS believes construction credit technology evolution is going to go, but then also to kind of use that information for other types of AI tools or technology in terms of, again, reporting, financial analysis, things like that.
Right. No, that's great. Again, someone who's not credit industry, but from a distance is my position. But very much involved with the technology side of everything that anyone might do or interact with on a day-to-day. Hearing from you kind of explain this is palatable for me or just a general person, out there who, as an owner, maybe you don't have all the tech savvy, know-how, but, and that's probably the biggest hesitation too, is I don't know it, therefore it's scary. So that's step number 1 of the 4. What's step number 2 goes into, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, step number 2 is the import file. And that's where you're simply just taking information from your CRM or ERP system, you're exporting it into a Excel file, and you're taking that Excel file and either uploading it to an inbox, sending it via email. There's many different ways to kind of move that document, but moving it to another system, having that uploaded, and then all your projects appear on the portal that way. This is definitely for folks that are moving on beyond step 1. This is definitely the best bang for your buck, because unlike an API, this Excel is a Microsoft Office suite it's product. So everyone has this capability. Everyone can export their CRM or ERP system to Excel in most cases. So there's a pretty low barrier of entry here. But the functionality, especially when you talk to folks that are doing 100 and 200, 300 plus projects a month, this is kind of a no-brainer to kind of get that started, so that you're not taking CRM data, ERP system data, you're putting it in manually, then you're retaking it out, retyping it somewhere. No. Let's cut out all that extra middleman, and you already have it in your system. So let's export it, get it out, and put it where it needs to be in an external system.
This podcast is brought to you by Careers in Credit. If you're an employer looking for top talent, or if you're seeking exciting career opportunities in the credit industry, Careers in Credit has you covered. They offer a range of outstanding job listings from excellent employers ready to hire. As an employer, you can effortlessly create and edit job postings, email your listings to relevant job seekers, and set up resume search alerts to find the perfect candidates for your team. Plus, you can view and print reports and statistics to keep track of your hiring progress. If you're on the lookout for your next career move, explore the vast array of opportunities available at Careers in Credit. So, get connected today by visiting careersincredit.org, and your next great hire or career opportunity starts here. Cut out the middleman. That's kind of the keyword of the whole thing about AI is cut out the middleman, which is that time waster. The data entry, spending time, like you said, going back and forth, basically doing redundant work that could just, time saver. And we can get to, the actual work of it. I mentioned APIs as that third, I believe, step. And really the integration of how the two might talk to each other and how to do that. So explain and dive deeper into that.
Yeah, so you take one step further past the import, and now you're not even exporting things. This is a communication that's being transmitted between two systems on an hourly basis. You'll set the cadence, but so product information is going to be as current as it is presented in your own system to NCS's system. And that way you're able to kind of see real time, okay, does this project, these are the current deadlines. Do I need to send a notice? Do I need to send a lien? Do I need to waive this project? Have I gotten invoices from these that now make this project complete so I can remove it from my tracking? It's very technologically and logistically complex, though. Depending on the preferences, depending on your scope from a state perspective and who you're working with, subs, GCs, or owners directly, all of a sudden it becomes lots of variables that you need to create with the API. So it's intentionally complicated. There are algorithms that you need to create, but once those systems are in place, and like we mentioned with step one, once your workflows for each state are digitized, so in Ohio, I want to do this. In New York, I want to do this. If the customer invoice is over 100,000, I want to do this. Once those are systematically developed, then the API is more easily able to kind of say, or just do the tasks that you want it to without needing to kind of adjust it every single time you have a new project.
Yeah, yeah. Complexity isn't necessarily bad. If anything, it allows for all certain parameters to be specific to your need. And I think that's probably with most people who, NCS would work with or any similar companies. There is no one solution or one thing for one person, because someone always has some weird, crazy situation going on, and you're like, my tool doesn't do that. But the reason it's just how it always is, or they've been doing it a certain way because of, who knows why. But yeah, so for those who are listening, complexity is never really a downfall. Complexity can allow you to tailor it to what you need. And that real time thing is huge. Even now, I recently just got some certification for some marketing ads, search, whatever, and their whole thing is about the real time analytics, real time adjustments, real time this. Before it used to be you got to wait 24 hours to make any adjustment on your, say campaign or that and whatever. So having that real time notice to make adjustments, to optimize and everything like that, now you can't really blame the clock for anything, which I think it's a little bit more of a responsibility or pressure maybe on someone maybe with me with those other tasks that I'm having to do, with marketing. But at the same time, it's well, now I don't lose that momentum. I don't lose the focus of the project and where that's going. And I think that's really cool that you guys are able to do that with real time is something we're used to on social media. So why is it not in our businesses? I don't.
Right. And we all have our wild and crazies. Every single no two companies are the same in what they want with these types of things, which is fine. And the complexity is not to be, as you mentioned, confused with difficulty. I think those are two different phrases. But I think the ability to be customizable and the real time aspect of it is really, we love that because if something changes, we want to react right away. If you need to send something out, we want to help you, and the only way to do that is to have real-time information. And If someone at the branch level puts in a new furnishing date and that's to be translated to the corporate office and then to NCS, that's a lot of paths in between that without that real-time data, a deadline could be missed at no fault of anybody's except for just technology not being up to speed. But luckily, those issues are pretty much fixed at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, real time covers your butt, honestly, for a lot of things. The I believe this is your final step. You mentioned the AR management. Unless there was something you were just covering with, like portfolios and real time. I don't know if that was something that you just wanted to kind of go a little bit more granular on, and
So
kind of get more on that.
yeah, so AR management is an API, and by the way, I'm oversimplifying all of this
Sure.
stuff for the audience. I'm definitely, I'm sure my IT team, who will be my developers, will be listening to this, are like cringing at the fact that I'm making this sound so easy and simple. It's not. But the AR management side of things, so it takes your project information, which we previously mentioned in the API or even the import, and then it also marries together the associated AR level information. So if you have an outstanding project or projects with open invoices and you receive invoices for those projects, oftentimes, at least we've discovered from our customers, is they pull up in a couple different reports. They pull up their accounting software to see which open invoices are there. They pull up a waiver system to make sure that they're waiving the correct ones. And then they pull up a project management system to say, hey, look, we can close this project. But if you have the project information and AR feed coming together and marrying up, then you can just look at NCS's system and real time, it'll show you like a little graph of what's paid, what's not paid, what can be waived, what's already waived. And you don't need to cross reference in many systems anymore. It's just one. So you can see again at a real time that your project at 123 Main Street is 50% paid and your notice deadline is coming up in 20 days. And then as soon as you get invoices in for that project, it'll automatically close. You can set it to automatically send waivers. It's really neat. And we have the customers on AR management are large customers again that have the ability to spend money and invest in technology like this. If you were to ask me where do you think that the broader construction world will be in 5 years, I would say most will be on that step two, which is that import. Because again, low investment dollars, very high ceiling for efficiency, and still gives you some flexibility with customization without kind of breaking the bank at a small, medium company.
Right. Yeah. Well, slow wins the race, I suppose. Maybe it's not the right phrase, but as long as that adoption kind of comes through, especially from the bigger players and trickles down to the smaller, um, hopefully to see change for good, as as AI does have his implications of the bad in it or whatever. But automation is kind of, I mean, since the assembly line, I mean, that in its own way is an automation of certain things and efficiency and optimization. We're just doing it
Mhm.
now at a very high level. Um, to kind of go back about the hesitation, I know we touched upon it like a little bit, but what are like really the biggest things other than I don't know enough about it or whatever? Um, Biggest hesitation to those people who don't want to adopt, say, like the things that you're talking about, or just other things in technology to help better their business, other than I just don't know much about it.
I think it's just afraid of changing the status quo. I think we're all susceptible to that in our personal and professional lives. It's, hey, we've been doing it this way and we've had success this way, so why would we change this way? And that's a fair way to think about anything. Right? Don't fix what's not broken. But and one thing I keep mentioning in all of the presentations I've been giving this year, and I've taken a couple of these ideas from other folks, is the workforce will never be bigger than what it is today because our parents' generation are retiring. They're the largest demographic, the baby boomers. And so if companies keep growing and dollar amounts keep rising and things get more expensive, but there's less people in the workforce, how do you plug that gap? It's not more people, so it has to be making people more efficient. So you have to question the status quo a little bit. And if things are working today, that does not guarantee it's going to work tomorrow. And so to kind of slowly implement, maybe 10%, change it up just a little bit, see what works, see what doesn't. And worst case, you fail and you have to do a little bit more work. But best case, you succeed, and now you're way more efficient, or you optimize some of these processes that, quite frankly, I don't know if anybody likes all of the data entry type of
Yeah.
things. I've never heard anyone say, I enjoy this. I want to keep this to myself. It's more like, hey, I want something else to do it. I just want to manage the project, so that
Right.
human in the loop element kind of comes back.
Yeah, I think I just had the podcast with Nir Bashan, and he's I don't know if you had the privilege of getting to listen to him.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, so he talked a lot about, the creativity, and like I know some people try to like go back and be like, well, he said he doesn't like analytics. I'm like, it's not what he said. He said analytics and like the spreadsheets and things like that tell the story of what you can do creatively. And I wanted to bring it back to, I think we are all creative people. It's just some creativity doesn't have a paintbrush or something. It's, problem solving, working with people, complex communication, whatever it is. Like, it's obviously easier to say something creative when you see a marketing piece and a graphic design. Of course, it's
Yeah, right.
it's
More
meant to
obvious
be
anyway.
yeah, it's meant to be visual. But there's an art of negotiation and dealing with others and project management and budgeting and finance, like, because we all hear stories of people who don't know how to stick to a budget and things go crazy, and next thing you know, a company is some way or the other, or they had a bad relationship with this person. So having all the data and having it done efficiently and optimized allows you to be more creative, allows you to really tackle things. And I kind of always known that, but after talking to Nir and talking to you guys like you, it's kind of like allowed me to see deeper into those, more nuanced, situations and things like that.
The one thing Nir in his presentation in Chicago mentioned that he showed, and trying to visualize it for the listeners, is there's your brain while on ChatGPT, and it's like it shows your brain. It's like a little peanut highlighted, and then here's your brain not on ChatGPT doing anything, like writing an email, and it's like your brain's all lit up. So to your point, the exciting thing about technology, and again these 4 steps and being able to implement any of them, is that you kind of have like the mindset that, okay, I'm going to use the tools for things that don't require as much creativity, right? The data entry, the repetitive things. Let's just get those knocked out, and then you can allow yourself to critically think. Give yourself more time to be creative, because that sort of thing, giving yourself the time to be risky, to question the status quo. That's our generation's gold. I mean, this is something that we haven't. The people before us have never had the extra time to be able to do stuff like this. So with all the efficiency that we're given, take advantage of it. Make sure that you're using what's available in front of you to the best, so that you can explore other things and just become better. Better than the previous generation. Every generation should strive to do that. And I think this is our, millennial, Gen X. This is how we do that.
100%. Well, thank you, Alec, for always, giving us, your expertise and your thoughts on like certain things that you guys are doing or just stuff in the industry that people might not be aware. It's always a pleasure to have you be a part of this. And again, I hope we have you again, maybe with some other guests and things like that, where we can have a even larger conversation. So thank you again.
Likewise, thank you for having me, and looking forward to it.
Sure.